I hear somebody's clock.
That would be mine.
That was nice sounding.
Thank you.
As long as you don't hear my dog snoring.
Okay, Mayor, I think we've got some folks joining us now. If you want to go ahead and get started.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Mayor Woody Washam, and it's a pleasure to be with you today for our March 1st. Can you believe it's March 1st? I'm ready for spring. I don't know about you folks out there, but you know, it's been a journey to get to this point, and what a beautiful day we had yesterday. I think that certainly got me in the mood, and probably most everybody else. So we certainly look forward to our warmer weather and just better times as things warm up in our town and maybe open up a little bit. So we're delighted that you're with us today. We have some fantastic topics that I'll introduce here in just a little bit, but you know, thank you for your interest in your town. If you will travel with us through these coffee chats through the entire year, we will touch on just about every area of town government that we are working towards and some of the priorities for our town. And we love doing this because it's an opportunity for feedback coming in from our citizens. As we get into our budget time and some of the important aspects that are certainly critical as it relates to our planning for the future and so forth, we do want your input. We get a lot of input, but you can't get enough when it comes to some of the important topics that we're dealing with in this day and time. Exciting things happening. We've had some since we met before, some exciting presentations on projects that have been presented to our town for consideration. Those processes are in place and moving forward. Just good things happening in our town that I'm very, very excited about. Not the least of which is we now have a groundbreaking date for our Kane Center for the Arts. That is mid-May, around, I believe it's May 14th. So stand by for the details on that. That will be a big, significant day here in the town of Cornelius as we move toward the realization of a dream for our downtown redevelopment. So much excitement goes with that. But today, we're going to hone in on a couple of things that's near and dear to my heart, but we can't start these conversations with our community yet without talking about the pandemic we've been through, and just to get a little visit into what those statistics look like and really what we need to be doing going forward. I'm fortunate now that I've gotten my second vaccination. I'm more than 2 weeks out, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But I suspect Gibbie Harris, our Mecklenburg County Medical Director, is going to tell me that I still need to be taking some precautions. So it's a delight once more. Gibbie has stuck with us through many of these coffee chats and conversations. So Gibbie, thank you again for being with us, and we look forward to your update. I hope it's some good news out there.
Good morning, Mayor, and thank you for having me again this morning. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the folks that come in on this chat. I think it's great that y'all do this every month. And I am very pleased to hear that you've had both of your vaccines. That's excellent news. one less person that I'm terribly worried about in our county right now. So I'm just going to give you a quick update on our statistics. I hate to sort of throw a lot of numbers at people, but some folks really like to get the numbers. So we are at 96,313 cases as of this morning, 869 deaths. But our other statistics are looking really pretty good right now. Our metrics are moving in the right direction. We're down to 44 outbreaks. If you'll remember, by mid-January, we were in the 60s. So that's great news. And I think a lot of that's attributable to the fact that many of the folks, as well as the staff in our long-term care facilities, have been vaccinated. So we're seeing fewer cases and fewer potential for outbreaks in those situations. That's just great. Our positivity rate is down to 5.6%. That hasn't happened since October. Our hospitalizations are down significantly, and our case rate's down to 175.3 per 100,000, which still has us in the red, but it has come, if you look at the graph, it's come down significantly. So, I mean, the good news is that our numbers are improving, and we are continuing to see them move in that direction. Over the past week, we seem to have leveled off just a little bit, but I still think we're, again, moving in a positive direction for the county. In terms of Cornelius, y'all have had a total of 2,360 cases. You only have one outbreak going on right now in one of your long-term care facilities, and you've had a total of 25 deaths. And 42 hospitalizations. The low number of hospitalizations and deaths is, I think, consistent with the fact that the majority of your cases are in those folks ages 20 to 59, and we tend to see less severe illness in those age groups. So that being said, I just want to recognize that there was a change in our expectations at the end of last week. The governor's order changed, and we dropped the directive that had been in place since mid-January because of the improvement of what we're seeing in our community. The governor's order is allowing for more openness in our community. Many of our businesses are able to have more people in them. Bars are now able to have individuals inside the facility. We're seeing an increase in the ability to have gatherings in auditoriums, in arenas, and more availability of sports in the community. So I mean, it's great news. I'm really happy that we're moving in that direction from an economic standpoint. It's important for our county, but I still want to continue to warn people that we still have a lot of virus out there, and we need to make sure that we're still taking care of ourselves and the others around us. So masking is still critically important. And it's also critically important for us not to gather any more than we need to. Or if you're going to a bar or a restaurant and you open the door and you see that the place is packed, you may want to rethink whether you go there that night or that afternoon. So what I'm asking of our community is that we continue to mask, we continue to social distance, and we continue to be smart about the gatherings that we attend. We need your common sense right now, and for you to think about your situation and what the potential exposure is for you and what that means for the people that you love and the people that you're around. So again, I'm really happy to know that we're able to do more in our communities right now. And as the mayor mentioned, it's going to start getting warmer. I'm also already seeing more daylight at the end of the day, which is great news. And so more ability to be outside where we know we're less likely to expose. The other thing that I will mention, we're continuing to see more and more vaccine available in our community, which is great news. Johnson & Johnson vaccine, that is the one-shot vaccine, was authorized over the weekend. There are shipments on the way to the state right now. We've already been told we'll get vaccine in Mecklenburg County this week, which will increase the amount and availability of vaccinations as we move through the different groups that we're trying to vaccinate. So that's all really good news. This is an effective and safe vaccine. It prevents severe illness, hospitalization, and death. And to some extent, like the other vaccines, it prevents transmission. So we're hoping that people are going to accept it like they have accepted the others, and that we're moving forward with getting more people vaccinated, which means as we do that, there's more and more opening that we can do in our community. So with that, I'm going to stop there and be happy to answer any questions now or at the end if that's preferable.
So Gibbie, should our citizens be concerned about which vaccine they get or not?
At this point, no. All three vaccines are effective. All three vaccines are safe. The nice thing about the J&J is it's a one shot. You don't have to go back for a second shot to remember to go back and those sorts of things. It's one shot. It's at least in the beginning, we're even going to get more doses of that than we have of the other two vaccines because they've been able to produce more. And it is effective. It does what we need it to do. So, and the other issue, I think I need people to understand, you're not going to be able to go in to get a vaccine and choose which one you want. We are getting what we get, and we're going to put out what we get as fast as we can. So we hope folks are going to be receptive as we move through this third vaccine. There are a couple of more out there that we're watching very closely. So the more vaccine we have in our community, the better off we're all going to be.
Great. So we're going to have to wear these masks forever?
No, I don't think so. There's a lot of discussion happening right now around if you are masked, if you are fully vaccinated and you're around others who are fully vaccinated, is there a need to wear a mask? Is there a need to social distance? Most people at the federal and national level who are the experts in this are saying it's probably not necessary. Unfortunately, the CDC hasn't changed their guidance yet. So from my perspective, I need to keep going with the CDC guidance, which tells you to wear your mask right now. But at some point, I think we are going to see that guidance changing, and probably fairly soon. That will free you up some if you know you're around others who have been vaccinated and you've been vaccinated. So there will be a change in that. And the more people we get vaccinated, the less important some of the prevention measures are going to be. But we know that prevents disease. We've had a very, very minimal flu season this year. Knock on wood, it could still spike. But right now, it has been just the lowest flu season I can remember. And a lot of that is because we've been wearing masks and socially distancing. So you prevent lots of different things by doing that. So I think people just need to be, like I said, use common sense, be very careful, do the things that you know are going to prevent the spread of this virus right now so that we can keep things open and not see our numbers go back up.
One of our citizens wants to know, while we have you here, Gibbie, do you think that we are at or approaching herd immunity in and around Charlotte based on the quickly downward trending statistics?
Unfortunately, we're nowhere near. Right now, we're just a little over 10% of our population being vaccinated. For herd immunity, we need at least 65%, but would prefer higher numbers than that. So we've still got a long ways to go. And that's why the masking and the social distancing and the limiting of gatherings is still critically important.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if we have any more questions on your topic at this particular point. I don't believe we do. So thank you so much. Other questions can come in, and Gibbie will be around for the duration of our session. And thank you for doing that. So other questions related to her topic, we'll be happy to get those out there and try to give you an answer. So thank you once more. And we, again, appreciate your support of our coffee chats.
Thank you.
Thanks. Now, I want to move along to our actual topic of the day. This is one that has been near and dear to me as it relates to a need in our community, and probably need in many communities, but our committee, our community is really trying to do something about this. We certainly have the support of our board, our town board, and they've been wonderful to provide encouragement. Matter of fact, two of our commissioners are involved with me on this endeavor, Denis Bilodeau and Mike Miltich, and we appreciate their persistence to help get this in motion, and you'll hear from them toward the end of our conversation as well about their experience in going through this first phase of our housing committee. So give you a little history. In spring of 2020, I appointed a committee of Cornelius citizens to evaluate and study all aspects of how the town may influence and promote housing opportunities for families, workforce, residents. And I wanted to make sure that any and all persons that work, attend church, or serve our citizens have an opportunity for affordable housing to be able to reside in our town. A very compelling statistic to me, which is very motivating, and you may hear this again in a moment during the presentation, was that 85% of the folks that work in our community cannot live in our community or do not live in our community. They could, but they don't live in our community. And that's simply too high. It's just definitely too high, and something that we needed to do something about. The committee itself is made up of 18 very diverse individuals that, as I said, live and serve here in our town. On this committee, it was important enough to me to be involved with every meeting and help facilitate it, which I did. And as I mentioned, our two commissioners, Commissioner Bilodeau and Miltich, serve on the committee. We also have Keith Eicher, Planning Board Chair, Susan Johnson, who's a Planning Board member, Sean Herndon, who is with Winston Dane Group Properties, and Ryan Carter from Habitat, Janice Hilton from Ada Jenkins, Michelle Hoverson, who's Executive Director of Above and Beyond Missions here in our community, Reverend Jonathan Marlowe, Senior Pastor at Mount Zion Church, Matt Gallagher, Blue Hill Development, Joe Roy, Meeting Street Homes, George Cyril, a banker with First National Bank, Julie Miller, who lives in the Meridian Street area, Todd Little in the Catawba North area, Ronnie Filson on the west side, and Coralia LaRusso from Washington Potts area. We had as our advisor Roger Walton from Clarion and Associates, and that was our group. So this group met 6 times. It was one of the most efficient operations I've ever been a part of in government. Usually it takes longer than that on a topic this complicated, but we did it in 6 meetings. The committee has studied funding availability for housing through agencies such as the Foundation of the Carolinas, Mecklenburg County. We studied land use and market for housing, land use and market for housing here in our community. We also heard a case study from the Smithfield community. And today, we're very fortunate to have Michelle Hoverton. As I said, she's Executive Director of Above and Beyond Ministries. And she will introduce to you our committee recommendations. And following that, we'll have our Deputy Manager, Wayne Herron, to provide a brief overview on the recommendations which the committee came forth with. So after hearing from Michelle and Wayne, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions, clarify anything you hear. Our board has not made any decisions yet, but tonight, at tonight's meeting, which begins at 5 o'clock at Town Hall, a resolution will be considered which will support this housing study that you're getting ready to hear about. So we've received an unbelievable amount of interest in our community. as our citizens know, this is coming up tonight. I knew this was important to our citizens, but because of the levels of correspondence I know I've received and our commissioners have received, we know this is important to them as well. So with that, Michelle Hoverson, if you will kick us off and give us a presentation of the good work of this committee. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it and appreciate being part of this task force. So to reiterate a little bit of what the mayor has already shared with you, our assignment as a task force was to determine if now is the time for Cornelius to pursue and prioritize a comprehensive community housing opportunity plan or not. And after all of the meetings that we had together, after listening to experts and learning from them and distilling different viewpoints, we decisively and unanimously came to the conclusion that for the sake of all Cornelius citizens, not only is it the right time to develop a plan to expand affordable housing opportunities in our community, but it's also the right philosophy for our town to adopt. So I'm just going to share with you today kind of a reduced presentation that we made at before the town commissioners. But basically, I just wanted to point out five of the most significant reasons why a community housing opportunity plan is good policy. And I'm going to save the most significant reason till the last. So anyway, these are the 5 reasons I'm going to go over. First of all, it's just good for the social structure of our community, which really what that means is when people are able to live where they work, it ensures a diverse and committed community. People are invested, and it keeps us from becoming too monochromatic, so to speak. It's also good for our environment. It just makes sense that as people don't have to commute a long distance to come to where they work, less commuting equals less fossil fuel use. And also, it's good for our children and our seniors. Students whose families have to move frequently due to unaffordable rate hikes perform poorly in schools due to the high stress and broken bonds with teachers and their friends. Also, we have Cornelius senior citizens who have assets that they can rely upon, but asset levels vary within the population, this population group within Cornelius. And we also have seen that a creative housing program such as the Smithville Revitalization Plan currently being developed shows that an innovative community housing plan prevents gentrification, and it also prevents the displacement of seniors, allowing them to age in place. But probably, and then it's also good for the economy. There's a myth that communities with affordable housing couldn't possibly be good for business. But in an article in Forbes magazine in January of 2020, that myth was really debunked. The article wrote about how communities benefit from affordable housing. And they state in the article, quote, "Modern affordable housing can be a much needed boon to the local and neighborhood businesses. When low to middle income families know that they can afford their housing costs each month, it frees up their ability to spend more on other essential items." Then lastly, and as I said, I wanted to save the most significant one till the end, is that a community opportunity housing plan is good for Cornelius because it provides financial stability to families. So one might think, and I'm going to put up this other slide here. One might think that the high cost of housing, which is eroding the financial and family stability of millions of Americans, is an issue that only affects large urban cities, but it's not. Cornelius is thought of as a wealthy and dynamic and growing community, but in our midst are seniors and young families just starting out, civil servants, retail workers, childcare providers, and educators who are all being impacted by rising housing costs. So I want to just show you in this chart some current realities. The average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in our town is $1,344 per month. And the average home purchase price is $343,000. The Lake Norman Economic Development Commission housing report indicates that in order for a household to avoid what's called housing instability, a household paying a mortgage should spend less than 30% of their monthly budget on housing expenses, which would include utilities. A renter should spend less than 25% of their household budget on rent. So as you'll see on this chart, it shows us that what these numbers look like in the life of an employee desiring to live in Cornelius. An income amount for a non-veteran teacher or a 911 telecommunicator is about $16 an hour or $33,280 annually. This is an income much greater than retail workers. So in order for these workers to avoid falling into what would be referred to as housing instability, they would need to pay no more than $832 a month for a mortgage and no more than $680 for rent, which is 25% of income. So a police sergeant or another employee making just over $50,000 would need to pay no more than $1,061 in rent to avoid housing instability. So as you can see in these charts, someone earning more than double the minimum wage up to someone making in the low 50,000s would be hard pressed to make Cornelius their home. One of our task members personally knows of a family of 6 who are currently having a very difficult time finding a 2 to 3 bedroom apartment or home. The family has been paying $950 for a rental home on South Hill Street, but due to upgrades the owner's making and the rent increase related to that, they have to find a new place to live. Because of the relationships their children have developed at school, they want their children to continue to attend Cornelius Elementary, and they also want to be able to continue to utilize the services of the neighborhood care center. But unfortunately, their search has been in vain, and moving out of Cornelius appears to be an inevitable outcome. And that's just an example of a family within this range that we're showing you here. With the rising costs of land and building materials and the overall housing demand, the hope for households making below $50,000 a year to find affordable housing in Cornelius is a deteriorating reality. As leaders, we talk about the need for self-reliance. However, families paying too high a percentage of their income for housing often find themselves making impossible choices: rent or healthcare, food or transportation. An affordable place to live helps families reach greater self-reliance by freeing them from such physical and mental hardships. Our task force was in agreement for all the reasons that I've mentioned, that when and where possible, our towns should help eliminate barriers to stable housing and create circumstances for families to enjoy safe, affordable housing that assists them in achieving economic stability. And we came up with 2 overarching conclusions. One, everyone wants a home. and stable housing. They want an affordable home, whether it's rented or purchased, because it represents safety for their family, security, and stability. And secure housing is the foundation that dreams are really formed upon. And then everyone in the affordable housing equation benefits. And by everyone, we mean the citizens needing the home that they can afford benefits, the local businesses that serve them, the investment and development teams that work together with the city leaders and staff to identify financial resources and craft the housing plans that will help keep Cornelius a vibrant, prosperous, and socially responsible place to live, all benefit. So to our task force, moving ahead to develop a comprehensive community housing opportunities plan just seemed to make good sense and good policy. So I think I'm going to now turn it over to Wayne Herron for him to share with you what some of the recommendations of the task force were.
Thank you, Michelle. And see if I can do this. Okay. So just to follow up on Michelle, Michelle, thank you. That was an outstanding overview of what the committee did. We've tried to prioritize the recommendations, and I'm not going to read everything you see on these slides, but the number one recommendation from the committee, as Michelle noted, was that the town needs to develop a comprehensive housing plan. Currently, the town does not have one. And we're not alone. Most towns in Mecklenburg County do not have a comprehensive plan. There's a lot of money out there currently, and we are so appreciative on the state and federal level that there are funds that come through HUD and through HOME. There's also funds that come through CDBG, and those are administered through the Central Line of Council of Governments in the city of Charlotte. One of the things when we apply for those dollars, a lot of communities here in the county, Matthews, Mint Hill, Cornelius, we're considered what they call one-offs because we apply periodically, but we don't really have a roadmap. We don't have a game plan. So we might apply for sidewalk infrastructure in a neighborhood, or we might apply for some down payment assistance, but we don't have that comprehensive plan. We also recently talked to Mecklenburg County. Mecklenburg County funds in a great way affordable housing for this county, but most of those dollars, if not all, go to the city of Charlotte. The city of Charlotte has a robust housing plan. They know where they want to be. They know what they need to do. They know where they're going. So a lot of those dollars go into Charlotte, but the county has made it very clear that they would like to spread that around and would love for money to come to North Mecklenburg. We appreciate the support of our commissioner, Elaine Powell, who we have met with and is very supportive of affordable housing in North Mecklenburg. Appreciate Pat Cotham. She has come to a number of our meetings. Appreciate the board chair, Mr. Dunlap. And then as we have followed up on these board members, the manager, Dina Diorio, has expressed to us that we want that money to come to the north, but you need to have a roadmap. We need to know where our money's going and that we're getting the bang for the buck. So what we have learned in our committee is that for a small investment, and our consultant says we can do a comprehensive plan upwards of in the $100,000 to $150,000 range. For that amount of money, we can leverage probably millions of dollars that are being funneled not only from the county, but through the Foundation of the Carolinas. Mayor Washam, Manager Grant, and I had the great opportunity to meet with folks from different foundations and different entities that manage these dollars, who basically said, if you have a roadmap, we will be glad to invest in your community. So the number one recommendation was the town should develop a comprehensive housing plan. The committee recommended it be in two parts, a 3-month short-term effort and a comprehensive long-term effort. We also had information about location and finance. The one thing is when people get excited about affordable housing, they try to squeeze it in everywhere. What the committee wanted people who were interested to know, providing affordable housing, it's a formula. And it's a very basic formula. It's based on the value of the land, the cost of the land, the cost of providing the infrastructure. We need to be aware that we just can't shoehorn affordable housing in any development that comes along. We need to be practical about it. We need to understand the costs that go into development. And we also need to understand locational analysis that people that we're providing affordable housing to, whether it's workforce, seniors, millennials, they need to be in locations that meet their needs, near transit, near the churches, near the grocery stores, and in key urban areas, and not out in the suburban fringes. So this was a major element of our recommendation, is to know where we want to spend those dollars. We also, as Michelle mentioned, we looked at, and the mayor also mentioned, looked at land use and zoning. A lot of our processes require significant public hearings, significant zoning reviews that allow some discretionary review. What developers say is we need to know for certain what we're getting into. We need to know what the rules are. And then we make decisions, yes or no. Can we afford that? Can we make that work? Is it good for the community? So the developer and the community know yes or no without the question marks of the conditional process. We want to look at historic preservation. There's pros and cons in neighborhoods and developments where you can look at credits. We also want to be cognizant of community and neighborhood consensus. We never want to shove something down a neighborhood that it doesn't fit. So we need to be cognizant of making sure, and yes, while we want to be concerned about neighbors, and we also are aware of NIMBYism, but we got to be concerned about the neighbors in the development itself and what their desires are. There was a big discussion of using development incentives. One thing that we were very surprised to find out, although it's been widely publicized in Charlotte, is that they have had incentives related to density for a long time. But what the city of Charlotte will tell you is density by itself does not solve the affordable housing problem. And I think what they would tell you is density alone has probably never achieved or recruited a development. What you have to have is financial participation, and that can come in a lot of different ways. It can come in cash, it can come in property that is acquired by the government and then provided to the development corporation. Those are all things that bring the dollar and bring the formula into a more workable situation. I mentioned the land acquisition. We also said we want to continue to develop and maintain partnerships. I'm really proud today that the next part of our agenda, we're going to hear from Habitat, but that has been a critical partnership that the town has had over many years. And you'll note at the top of this screen, we have maintained partnerships with Habitat, Ada Jenkins, Mecklenburg County, the City of Charlotte, Central Carolina Regional Council. These folks have done a yeoman's job in providing resources for affordable housing. One thing the committee said is we probably need to make sure we do not leave out the faith community. The faith community does so much behind the scenes and provides such a valuable resource. So we want to make sure that we include and recognize that partnership that's there and the great job the faith community does. We want to continue to identify resources and opportunities. One thing that we found out, as I noted earlier, there's a lot of funding out there. So when we approach the foundation, or we approach the county, or we approach the state, of course, the first question is, are you tapping into the funds that are already there? What is your plan? What is your outline? And of course, our response was, well, we don't have a plan. We would just like money, please. Well, that doesn't always work. So what we've heard from a lot of these organizations, if the town will step up, do the initial part of putting the plan together, it will leverage so much and will be part of a great team of resource organizations and opportunities that can be provided to our citizens. The employee housing program, we are in our first year providing a stipend to police officers who choose to live in the town. What the committee recommended is that we need to go even further and encourage all private sector companies, as well as the town, to look at residency compensation, work through the chamber, work through any organization that might be interested in working with us. It is important that we have housing that is affordable for teachers, firemen, police officers, and anyone who serves our community in any way, shape, or form. We also, while it's important that Cornelius does its thing, we've always been known here in North Mecklenburg to look for regional solutions and work with our partners and our neighbors. We want to continue to do that. While it's not as simple as saying, well, Huntersville has a lot of land, let's let them build. We can't do that, but there are a lot of things we can do regionally, and we need to continue to collaborate and work together and find those solutions that provide us economies of scale. And then lastly, the mayor put together a great committee. There's been a lot of chatter that, hey, this committee needs to continue on, and maybe we add more folks to it that will continue to add oversight and add commentary and be there for us to give recommendations. So that concludes the 14 recommendations from the committee. So I will end there, and let me stop sharing. And Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. A great presentation from Wayne and Michelle. That's where we are with affordable housing. So now it will move into our other entities. I've seen some great comments. We've had some detailed conversations with our governmental representatives. I see Senator Marcus is tuned in today, and she's made a couple of comments. One is thank you, Michelle, for making sure teachers and police officers are good examples of workers who have trouble finding affordable housing under our current conditions in our community. So let me see if we've got any more here. But our governmental representatives pretty much across the board are supportive of this. Representative Bradford is also supportive. We've had conversations with him. As Wayne mentioned, we've also had conversations with our county representative, Elaine Powell. We will have with others. I see Lee Altman out there, county commissioner. And thank you for joining us, Lee. There's probably other county commissioners that I missed, but that's the ones that I'm aware of now. So thank you for your interest, not only in this topic, but in our community. So we're going to need a little help as we pursue this with the funding of a plan, which seems to be step number one. So hopefully we can get some assistance either from the state level or the county level, and both. We can provide some locally. We intend to provide some at the town level, but we need a little bit of help to get the quality of study we need to see this forward and to have the quality and level of plan that will appeal to these outside dollars that we will be applying for assistance. We do mean business about this, and I'm hopeful that my commissioners will support this direction forward. I believe they will. And we'll have a good outcome, I think, at the end of the day. So let me see if we've got any more questions to pop up here related to that topic. And yes, Pat Coffin, we know you're always out there, and thank you for your continued support, not only on this topic, but many more that we'll be talking to our county commissioners about in the days ahead. So we certainly appreciate that. Now, I really want to move forward with our next topic, and we've got some miscellaneous questions, and folks, hang on, we'll get to you. But I do want to hear from a very, very critical component to affordable housing that we have utilized in our community to date. It's part of our way forward. Certainly, we don't want to forget about Habitat for Humanity. We've had a wonderful relationship with Habitat over many, many years. There's a rich history out there of Habitat working with our town. And I really want to start out with a little bit of a history lesson. Many of you may not know how rich that really is. So I'm going to turn back to Wayne and ask him if he will introduce our speakers today. We're very fortunate to have the president of Habitat, Laura Belcher from Habitat. actually the newly merged Habitat, and she'll tell you about that organization. And also Ryan Carter. Ryan was a very valuable member of our housing study task group, and we appreciate his involvement there. So thank you, Ryan, for that. And Wayne, give us a little history lesson here, and then we'll move forward with our guest.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll be brief because I know we want to hear from Laura and Ryan, but I mentioned the partnerships in my presentation and how valuable they have been over the years. Just to touch a little bit on Habitat and the great partnership the town has had. I think starting from the 30,000 view and coming down, one of the big projects that Habitat partnered with Cornelius on is a 65 lot subdivision that is on Pool Place here in Cornelius. 65 homes for workforce families. That's tremendous. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. Habitat basically has to create a development type division that oversees the construction of roads, construction of homes, how people get into those homes and how people qualify. So that was a great partnership. But then on the mid-level, Habitat has looked for properties, individual properties around Cornelius in various neighborhoods. And every time you have an individual property redevelop to help a family who is looking for affordable housing, that changes the neighborhood. It changes the community in a positive way. And it puts families on the route to being great citizens for the future for Cornelius and for Mecklenburg County. So we appreciate those individuals. And most recently, our partnership, we applied for a grant through CDBG for down payment assistance, and Habitat administered that for us. And there's a lot of work that goes into that, selecting the right family to receive those dollars. There's a lot of counseling that goes into it, again, to make sure that family stays out of debt, understands how to be good citizens, understands how to manage money, and be a family here in Cornelius. So we appreciate that. So one of the great partnership stories that we have. So very pleased. I'll let Laura introduce herself and the new merged Habitat. And as Mayor mentioned, I appreciate Ryan being on our committee. So thank y'all very much. And I'll let y'all do a further intro and go from there. Thanks, Laura.
Great. Thank you, Wayne. And thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to be with you all this morning. As you said, the partnership between the town and Habitat is an important one, and one that we don't take for granted. So we're thankful for our past and really excited to look forward to the future. Hearing about your desire and commitment to developing a plan is exciting for housing, so that we can look across the entire continuum of housing, and Habitat stands ready to help and be part of the plan and part of the future. I'm thankful for Ryan Carter's participation in the task force. And the ability to use his skills and talents and to have a voice in the planning for the future. When the results of the task force were walking through and some of those main conclusions, I was struck by how similar the desire for housing for all and recognition that all folks want and desire housing aligns with the Habitat mission. And vision, right? So our vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And that aligns a lot with what the task force just talked about, and wanting to make sure that your residents and the folks that work in your community have the ability to live in places that they can afford and aren't cost burdened. So what I want to do this morning, I know we've got limited time, so I'm going to walk through a couple of things pretty quickly, but I want to kind of give you a quick update on some of our activities for the Charlotte region and how things have been impacted a little bit by the current pandemic. So when you think about Habitat, there are 4 kind of programming areas. The first one is what people think of maybe the most is our new construction, where we build walls and build new homes, and we love doing that. We also do existing home rehabilitation, which is where we acquire homes, either previously Habitat built homes or homes on the open market, and we rehab them and then are able to resell those. We currently have recently acquired 2 Habitat homes back into inventory, so we will do a little bit of rehab on those and then be able to keep them as affordable inventory into the community. We also spend a lot of our effort on our critical home repair program, which is working with aging homes, mostly homes, not homes that Habitat built, but mostly homes that have seniors in them and have some deferred maintenance. And we know that the residents are living in substandard conditions, and we want to allow them to age in place safely. And so we go into the home and do a holistic assessment and do repairs on roofs and foundations and electrical work and things of that sort, so that people can age in place in a house that's safe. And the fourth is kind of our financial literacy efforts. We have always provided financial literacy for folks that were going through our new home ownership program. But in the last year or so, we've rolled out some additional financial literacy opportunities called our Money Matters program. That's really designed for folks that want to understand, what does it look like to become homeowner ready? And so, is a family homeowner ready today? 3 months, 6 months, 18 months, what will it take to become homeowner ready? And this is an important conversation to be having with folks throughout the community that don't, that maybe haven't ever bought a home before, maybe first generation homeowners, and they want to understand what's involved. And so Money Matters gives us that opportunity to roll that out. Now, both the mayor and Wayne have alluded to the merger. So Habitat Charlotte Region is the combining of two habitats, and officially today is our 1-year anniversary. So it's good to celebrate with you that it was effective March 1st of 2020, that we brought the Our Towns habitat, which served the North Mecklenburg and Iredell area, with Habitat Charlotte that served the city of Charlotte. And together we are now the Charlotte region, and we run up and down I-77. This really gives us the opportunity to be more strategic and intentional about some of our investments. It also makes us more efficient by not duplicating back office activities. We anticipate that we will be able to reinvest back into housing solutions over the next decade. A significant amount of money, in the range of about $5 million, will be reinvested back into housing solutions because of bringing these two affiliates together and being intentional. We know that we have a guiding principle that we want to serve more families, and that by joining together, we're able to do that. We've been impacted, like so many, due to the pandemic. And so just to give one minute of update on kind of how that's driving and influencing some of the habitat.
Laura, looks like we're frozen up here.
Hey, Ryan, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add while Laura's maybe coming back.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. Just real quick, I saw Senator Marcus's question in the chat box. We certainly, regarding mortgage assistance and homeowners facing, just very much delinquency on their mortgages. Habitat homeowners are experiencing this, but we've been doing a community survey as well, and have found responses from Gaston, Lincoln, Iredell, Cabarrus, and Union counties that mortgage payments are a real struggle for a lot of families right now. So, so they're working on, we're working to address that for our homeowners. But my role at Habitat, I do our advocacy work. So I get to be on great task forces in the committee, in the community, like the Cornelius Housing Task Force. And then I get to meet with our elected officials. So great to see so many on the call today. So recently, as of Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, depending on when the votes count tallies, you think about it, Congress, the U.S. House passed their latest stimulus bill. And that package was $10 billion in homeowner assistance funds, about $9.6 billion specifically for helping homeowners stay in their homes. So those funds, once Congress passes the next stimulus bill, fingers crossed that those critical home ownership funds stay in the package. Those will be then distributed to the states, a portion to the states. So we'll be working with our state legislators as well to ensure that those funds are used accordingly. There's a lot of interest in this across the state. the Bankers Association, the credit unions, the realtors. A lot of folks are very, very interested in this because we don't want to see a massive housing crisis induced by the impacts of COVID. And Habitat Representative Bradford, just reading your question about when does a Habitat home become available again? Is it because the original recipient vacated the home? Does this happen often? Not super often, but it's usually, families move and we buy those homes back. So want to make sure that happens, keep it at market value. So that way we can ensure that, the promise of equity in a home is realized. So I'm happy to see that. Laura just texted me, said there's a power surge at the office. So I think
we see Laura back now.
All right. Well, Laura, I'll hand it back over to you.
I apologize. We had a power surge in the office. The lights went out and I lost the connection. That never happens, but only when I'm online, right? So my apologies. I'm actually not actually sure where I lost you, so I apologize for that. But I was trying to walk through the PowerPoint to kind of share a little bit about what we're working on production-wise, and wanted to let you know that our commitment to working in Cornelius is high, and so we have completed 9 critical home repairs since the merger, and we've got the additional properties that we bought back that I mentioned and that Ryan mentioned. And so we're eager to continue that work and work with you on that. The one other thing I was going to quickly share was just a quick picture of some new housing product that we're doing. So we're doing more in the range of multifamily. And so I wanted to share with you that we're doing some townhomes in both Charlotte and in Mooresville right now. And looking to expand our use of this kind of low density 2-story townhomes as a way to increase affordable housing in different communities. Might be something that, as the Cornelius plan comes together, might be an interesting mix of, in addition to the single family housing that we already do, to introduce some kind of townhomes like this. So I just share that as an opportunity for the future. My apologies again for the power surge and the technical glitch. I will, for the sake of time, turn it back over to the mayor and see what questions there are, if there is anything we can address.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your comments. Habitat is still a critical part of our plan as we move forward, certainly. And we appreciate our relationship with you folks and look forward to it even being stronger as a newly merged, stronger organization, I think takes hold and moves into the future. Now, I want to turn to our 2 commissioners, our 2 town commissioners that have been involved in this housing study and so forth, and just give them just a brief minute for their take and their comments. So I'm going to start with Commissioner Bilodeau. If you have anything to add to the conversation, Denis.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. I do always refer to this important topic as a action committee rather than a study committee. And it's such an important topic, and right now is a great time to be talking about this, given that we're in the budget season. I do see 3 action items that I'm hopeful tonight we can push forward the resolution. I'm certainly supportive of it. And the 3 items I'd like to see happen is, number 1, of course, funding the study. The study is certainly longer term and complex, but in the short term, I think we can beef up the stipend that we've put forward for the police department. Some of that got a little bit watered down due to COVID and some of the budget constraints, but I'd like to put that on the table for the police department, and certainly as we move forward, expanding that so that our frontline folks and teachers, et cetera, can benefit from living in the town of Cornelius. And then, also, I think there's been an awful lot of good work done by Smithville Community Coalition and the Plan for Smithville. So we already have some work in place And I'm hopeful that we can also put something in the budget this year to assist and garner, as Wayne says, additional grants and funds that are available locally and nationally. So that's it. I'm just really pleased and honored to have been part of the task force. And I'm hopeful that we can get some action this particular fiscal year. Thank you.
Commissioner Miltich.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us. As a people person, I will be so glad when we can start doing this in person again, because I feel kind of silly talking to myself to a screen. I had a little bit of an epiphany moment over this weekend regarding this topic. Change is inevitable, but as your town leaders, our challenge is to manage that change, whereas still preserve the values of being in Cornelius. I'm a transplant. And one of the things I've noticed in Cornelius is these families that have this long history tied to Cornelius. I mean, even our mayor, who, except for a brief period of time, has been here his whole life, but there's family after family. I came from a town that people were factory workers and they came in and they don't have that history. And along the way, I overheard a conversation, a gentleman that was putting together events for young adults lamented, our kids are not coming back to Cornelius. And that's true. All my kids' friends were raised here and they're just gone. And there's no plan for them to come back. On the other hand, I had a senior family seeing me as a couple seeing me as a patient. And they lamented that they were being forced out of their home because of all the growth that was experienced in Cornelius. So I've been aware of this problem for a long time. And other committees have sort of put their fork into this problem. We all admit it is a big problem, but nobody knew it was a solution, but nobody knew what that solution was. So I have to take my hands off to the committee that the mayor put together. They really rolled up the sleeves, and these recommendations are spot on, and I give them my wholehearted support. And I think we need to let the town know that this is an important topic, and it's going to preserve what makes Cornelius Cornelius by providing a long-term solution for all of our residents on all aspects of social, economic, and ages. They should have the ability to stay in this town. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your comments. Looks like our time is bringing us to a close. There's some hanging questions out there. One is to Representative Bradford, and we'll make sure that question gets to Representative Bradford from our citizen, and we'll actually provide Mike will provide you with Representative Bradford's contact information, and you can take that directly to him. So we appreciate you joining us today. The only other question that's remaining is a little bit miscellaneous. It's related to the Bailey Road 115 sign has been showing watch for construction 1 through 19. So when should the construction on Bailey Road and 115 begin? So I'll take that to if Tyler Beardsley's out there, our assistant manager, or Wayne or Andrew or others that can answer that quickly.
Yeah, Mayor, I'm out here, so I'll take that. Thanks for the question. We've been delayed a little bit with some DOT approvals, both 115 and Bailey Road are DOT roads. So we're getting some last minute approvals from DOT. Also weather and then the start of school has kind of delayed us. So we should be getting started here in the next week or two. Everybody's pretty much ready now. So just waiting for it to dry up a little bit.
Good news. So Bailey Road's happening there at 115 and approved and funded, and off we go as soon as we can get through the technicalities, if you will. So great topics, great conversation. I thank all of you that have joined us today, all of our citizens, all of our staff, all of our elected officials outside of Cornelius. We appreciate your support and your interest in our town. I will remind all the participants on the call that our town board meeting begins at 5 o'clock today, 5 o'clock. You can see it online. So it's a little bit different time. We got a fairly heavy agenda that we just need more time to get through. So we're beginning at 5 o'clock. It will be broadcast on the town's Facebook page, as well as you can tune in through the town's website too. So those of you that are interested, please feel free to join us. Now, I wish all of you a happy Monday. Danny, is there anything else that I need to tie up on our loose ends before we dismiss?
No, we're good to go.
I think we're good to go. Thanks again, everybody. We'll be back with you the first Monday in April, I believe. Remind me the topic, Danny, on our next coffee chat. I think I caught her.
You did. You caught me off guard. I don't have it in front of me, but we'll be pushing it out here shortly.
So look for the next coffee chat coming up first Monday in April. Thank you, folks. Have a great Monday, and we look forward to seeing you out and about soon. Bye now.